In today's episode, we have Gerald Chukwuma. He's the founder of GDY Fine and Functional Art. Gerald is a contemporary artist noted for working with upcycled aluminium battered wood carvings and installations for his signature intricately crafted wood-slate sculptures. His body of work aims to tell Nigerian stories through art, and his work has been featured in solo and group exhibitions at key galleries and museums locally and internationally. Interviewing him, we have Aderonke Adeola, a writer, producer, and director. Aderonke is the director and producer of the documentary Awani, a historical documentary that explores the intersection between colonialism and gender inequality. Awani has won multiple awards, including the UNESCO prize at the 2019 Afrika Film Festival. Join us as we listen to their journey in entrepreneurship in the creative arts industry.
Well, it's really great to be here. It's such an honor to meet you. So my first question is, the way I know you is through your art. But clearly from this space, from your studio, you're far more than an artist, you're also an entrepreneur. So I wanted to ask you about, if you could touch on briefly your journey as an artist, but most importantly, how you're able to merge that with being an entrepreneur.
Thank you. I've not always been an entrepreneur. I've always known myself to be an artist. I grew up loving to draw on all my walls, getting, of course, trashed for messing the wall up, but I enjoyed myself. And I eventually wasn't even encouraged to do art at all. And so I moved on to do other things. Many years after, into higher institution, I decided to, okay, it is time, I need to face what I enjoy to do. So I started to do art. And I had to become an entrepreneur by force, because I love to do these things. I spent time doing these things. My life revolved around art. But there was something else. I had to eat also. I had to keep this work because of austerity. I had to take care of the work. I had to show the world the work. So there were other things apart from making the work. And so I knew that there was something more, and I started to ask questions. What else? What else can I do? How do I preserve these works also? I needed to learn things. So that brought me to a few places like the Fit Foundation, where I had little training. British Council, I had another training about entrepreneurship. So I started to learn and read a few books. And am I an entrepreneur? Maybe not yet, but I'm on that path. Yeah.
All right. So I'm curious. Yeah. The stereotype is that you're either an artist, creative, or you're a business person. Do you make your business decisions yourself, or is there someone that you work with, or you've hired or partnered with that helps you make business decisions?
Where we practice our art in Nigeria and in a lot of other places, you have to let the people who have making decisions before to make them when you start. Because when you get into art, for instance, what I did, I only knew about how to make this art. I didn't know how to sell this art. I didn't know what to buy it. I didn't know where to take them to. So I had to rely on the galleries, some people who sell and market art in this environment, and I depended on them. But for a few years now, past 5 years, I'm beginning to get enlightened to know that, okay, you can use even the social media, you can talk a bit more about your art and get attracted to these people who, do the business of art, who buy it. But I also think that it is a subtle conspiracy to make the artist think that he shouldn't do business. I do not know if it is deliberate, but I know I call it subtle conspiracy, because who would actually do better business than the man who makes the thing? I ask myself, I know what it takes me to make, I know the troubles I go through to make it, I know how much employment I have to work with, and I don't know anything about employment really. So I have to employ people sometimes that I don't know what it takes, you don't know the kind of rent I deal with, you don't know the kind of troubles I go through, and of course the beautiful sides also. You don't know. So yes, I may not have the knowledge, but I could learn. And so I think it would be more encouraging if we take some of these decisions ourselves, being the ones that wear the shoes. But we have to depend on people who have the knowledge also. The galleries have done this over the years. They have information, they have knowledge. They can help us. We can agree together to make the business side of art a better place for both of us. Yeah.
So I want to ask you about your growth journey. I think a lot of people, especially when we're younger, we love the arts. We all have a flair for creativity. But how did you know, or when did you know that, right, I want to pursue this as a career and business, or I should pursue this? You know, what's that thin line between that? This is a really good hobby, or actually I can build a life and make revenue around this. I'm curious to know what that point was for you.
The phrase you use, a thin line, that's what it is. It is a thin line because you may never know. But discomfort is a beautiful thing. Being uncomfortable is great because that's what happened to me. I didn't even do art in tertiary institution. I didn't at all. But you see, I never stopped doing this. It was part of my life. I could paint on walls, paper, anything I could just do out of it. My genes were all scribbles. I just did a lot. And so eventually, and my parents, of course, didn't even want me to do anything about art. So they pushed me to do something else, and I went to do something about purchasing and supply, something to work in an office, really, because they didn't know, they didn't have information. Now, what happened was that at the point, I was so uncomfortable that I had to take my decisions myself, and it was very late. I had gone up to second year in the university, and so I said, you know what? If I'm going to really be happy, then I have to do this thing that I love. And so I decided to start all over again. So I eventually went to read art. Now, I had a few things that encouraged me. For instance, when I got into the University of Nigeria in Nsukka, where I read art, the first thing I saw at the billboard was a poster of a great professor today, Professor Ellen Atsui. And I saw a poster that he just won a prize for £3,000, and I said, goodness me, so people win money like this in art. So I didn't believe, I never believed anybody could get that. But when I saw a newspaper clip, very small, I said, so he can even appear in the newspaper. And I said, so there's something here. Here is my hobby, but there's something in it. If you can come, write about this guy in paper, and all the way, I think in China or so. And I said, no. Then I have to really think about it. So the passion drove me to return back to reality. But a few things like the newspaper clipping, to know that, look, you can live out of this. I was discouraged heavily. My mother asked me one day, are you sure this can feed you? She asked me that question. And if I didn't have that passion, I would have thought about it more than that. And so at the point, I had to take my decision. In school, they taught us about only artists, that were supported by patrons. And so even if I wanted to be an entrepreneur, that would discourage me. Because, I didn't want to be supported by a patron. There was no patron to support you. So, but I started to see these small clippings here and there, one competition here, one festival, then one artist, Osaka Benali, and all that. And I said, wait, so this is possible. And then I started to do art as a course. And now here I am, trying to be an entrepreneur also. Yeah.
So that's really interesting. It was really a mixture of things, your passion, pursuing further education in art, and just really driving and creating the career that you want. Yeah. And you had a role model, Ellen Anatsui is just... Yeah, sure.
Yeah, seeing that clipping changed, a young student, you come into the school, that's the first clipping you see on the notice board. It changed my perspective about art.
Okay, thanks for that. I wanted to ask, there's so much in the past 5 to 10 years, the arts industry has really, what you call it, the art market, I guess, has really changed. There's a huge rise, there's platforms, there's so much happening, and there's this artist selling their work of art for X amount. It seems that there's a real sort of renaissance happening in the art industry, and let's say I'm a young artist. I am, but in a different field. Apart from, obviously, you must master your craft and continual improvement is important, but how do you navigate these opportunities, and how do you create opportunities for yourself? How do you make a living as a young artist?
That's, for me, a twofold question, because first, I think our institutions, they have to rethink the curriculum. As an art student, I wasn't told that art was for sale. I wasn't taught that if you come out, this is business. It is not just pleasure. And so many of us came out to the real world confused, even though we had the talent. Yes, so now when we come out, we are faced with these challenges. But it is true that, beautiful also, that a lot of people have started to understand this and have started to educate the world. And so the past 10 years, like you say, like a renaissance, and then it's happening and we're enjoying it. But I think that as a young artist, we need to read a bit more. I need to read a bit more. We need to keep reading, because the information is too much and we don't know it. We come out from an institution that has taught you only a little, and it's just to open your mind to read. And I think that's one major thing. We need to read a bit more about what's happening all over the world. We also need to know our culture, because the art of a person comes from where he comes from. I can only tell my story better than anyone. And so we need to also know the past in order to create a better future. And so that's also another thing we run away from. And so we come out and we want to do whatever that person is doing, and then we forget where we're coming from. So we need to begin to read a bit more. I know that it is very important that we begin to read a bit more, but also begin to ask questions about our past, our culture, where we're coming from, what used to happen before, that we can also tell the story of today, because art should actually tell stories, and visual research documents. And so that's what I think a young person should, to be able to key also into all the things happening. A lot is happening, but you can only key if you know what you expected. Yeah. Okay,
and we're in this view, so I cannot reiterate enough how beautiful this place is. How have you built this? So I'm asking for as much information as you can give. I know you don't want to give.
I can give anything.
So is it like you said? Is it patrons? Is it through galleries? Do you host your own exhibitions yourself? How have you been able to create your own studio, and how do you keep creating art from a business perspective?
Art must be driven first by passion. That's the truth, because you get discouraged. I am often discouraged too. But it's a simple process. You can't show your art. The past 10 years ago, you couldn't just show out at the galleries. Today we've got social media. We've got other platforms. But how did I do my own? Exactly, I started by showing the galleries what I do. They felt comfortable that this guy has potentials and started to sell. And as they began to do that, people would go, who is this? And then of course I go for one event and say, are you Gerald? Oh yeah, okay, I saw your work. Can you show me a bit? And then they come here. I didn't always have a studio like this, of course. But the gallery is truly made my first breaks. The first major break I had as an artist was a competition. It was a competition organized by a gallery and a brand in Nigeria. And they had topics they were working on about Nigeria. And so I went in for that exhibition and competition and was one of the people that won. So that took me to Abuja and took me to the Netherlands. Now, it came from the gallery. So the galleries they are very important. If you are doing art, you should show the galleries. They have been there. They should be able to say, we know where this guy is going to, because they have the experience. Patrons, yes, it's only a while. It doesn't happen overnight. You keep working at it. The gallery keeps showing you. You have opportunity to show in exhibitions you show. People begin to know you. Consistency. And then people begin to come to you. Now, I probably don't have any work in any gallery in Lagos. But I show in exhibitions and people come sometimes. But I think we need to do a bit more with the galleries. I think artists should begin to think of unions that can open galleries. I think so. We don't have that. A few organizations have come up, but artists should begin to think together, 3-4 people. Can we get a space on the island and have a gallery studio where we can showcase our works, and when we work in our studio somewhere, so that we can learn the entrepreneurship, we can learn the business of art. We don't know much about the business of art. There's a business of art that is huge. So have I really succeeded as an entrepreneur? Maybe not, but I know that there is, and I'm trying to learn to become an entrepreneur and a businessman who makes art. Yeah. Or an artist who's a businessman.
But are you being hard on yourself? Because I come in here and it's first of all, the fact that you have a physical structure is an achievement in of itself, because this could be art, this could be any industry. To have a brick and mortar space is quite an achievement. I agree with you. So don't be so hard on yourself.
Well, could it be better? Yes.
Yes, but is that more of an industry, building institutions, having more information? Is that more of an industry-wide situation as opposed to your own efforts?
I have been able to do this, but it should spread out. It should spread out easily without so much hitches. How many people are able to? And again, it's tough to do it. You have to just refuse to quit. You have to just agree to either win or win. You have no alternative. You have to burn your boats. And have I thought about giving up many times? Yes. Even as close as last week. Yes. Because there's so much, but you find something is pulling you back. So people want to do that, but they can't. So there should be the middlemen, the galleries, other institutions, they have a job also to do. I shouldn't publicize myself. Naturally, I agree that the artist should go to the studio and work, be creative enough. But it's a bigger world, it's a different world. You have to learn other things. It's not like before that they had patrons, so you have to go and hire in one place and work. Now, you are in a global scene, and a lot of things have to happen through you. And through you alone, and so we have to become entrepreneurs. We like it or not.
Fair, that's fair.
Yeah.
So, based on what you've just said, what are the biggest challenges facing artists and/or art entrepreneurs?
I'll talk from my perspective. It is the fact that I rather do the art all the time. Is that good? No, it's not good. Just like saying I'd rather eat all the time. I love food and I love to cook too. So, would I live in the kitchen? No. I have to cook the food. Take it to someone to find out if it's good. So, the greatest challenge for me is breaking away from doing just that art and trying to become an entrepreneur, which is very important. Otherwise, you could very well be on Mount Everest and nobody sees the thing. So, I think that's the biggest challenge. First, between art and entrepreneur. But also, information is not readily available. I was just telling someone that I only found out last year, as long as I've been in this art, only last year I found out that I could go and exhibit in all these art fairs on my own. I thought the galleries had to. In fact, I was always told the gallery. So we don't have those opportunities here in Nigeria, and of course in Africa a bit. Elsewhere sometimes it's a bit easier, because even if I don't have a gallery representing me, I can try out if it is one competition, one fair, somebody could just see somebody who is growing and say, look, I know where to get to, and pick you up. We don't have much of that. It's growing slowly. There's Artex, the other exhibitions, the Biennale, there are other things now happening in Nigeria. There are talks. We had an entrepreneur talk also a few days ago. So it's happening, yeah. We're getting there, but we need to be open to these possibilities. I'm not thinking that to be an artist means to lock up yourself. In fact, one of the things the entrepreneur said, who was talking to, he says, don't lock yourself up in your studio. come out. And when you come out, you begin to understand what it means to be an artist who is a businessman too, because you have to be both of them. If you can't find someone, and we can't find someone, so you have to be, or you are ruled around by what you did not expect. Yeah.
So one thing that my peers and myself I struggle with is that bridge between being an artist and being an entrepreneur or being commercial. Because it's almost like they're enemies. You know, you want to be, artistry is the purity, it's the authenticity. And being commercial is pandering, you know, can be perceived as pandering, right? So for example, your work, when I first met you, I said, I've seen your work. This is the first time I'm seeing you.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
And let's say, you know, this thing, it doesn't look that difficult. Of course, it looks really difficult, but I'm just pretending.
Yeah.
And if I copy your work, I'll get some traction because you've already built a market for it. You've built an appetite for it. And that's what I mean by pandering. So I'm an artist, I have an aesthetic, I have a story I want to tell, but you know, that Gerald Chukwuma's work is, if I do things like him, you know, almost 80%, you know, I'll just change the color, maybe I'll put it on plastic, you know, add some sonography, add some other, and create this hybrid thing. And it's not, I am literally trying to copy I guess what I'm trying to ask in a very long-winded way is how do you maintain authenticity, tell a story that is unique to you, and still connect with an audience or a consumer base? How? Because I find that sometimes people choose one or the other, extreme poverty, or they're not doing anything interesting. And I'm sure you can name cameras of like 10 people who are doing that. How do you bridge that gap?
Okay, this is very interesting. You know, have I been copied? Yes, even yesterday. Someone showed me a picture yesterday of an exact piece that I made. An exact piece. Being encouraged by a gallery in Lagos. So, is it happening? Yes. And I know where it is. Is it a problem for me? No. I do not think any man or woman can multiply what is not originally his or hers. And I like what Walt Disney said once. They asked him the same question. Do you think you're not bothered about copy? He said, well, that's good for him so he can think of something else. True, that makes me move. Initially, when I saw these things, it bothered me, but I think this thing is so large, you can't finish what you want to create until we go, even if you do for 200 years. So, but the very interesting thing that I like about the question is pure artists and, you know, just straight commercial. And I always ask a question, I say, can someone tell me what the galleries are doing? Are they pure artists or are they commercial artists? Now, if I have to make it pure, and then the gallery take it and make it commercial, then something is happening, right? So there's pure and there's commercial, and these two help this art. Therefore, we can't take our pure and leave only commercial, or we take our commercial and leave only pure, right? Otherwise, it's not complete. So can't I be the pure and the commercial? Is there anything wrong with that? I think this is, and I keep saying, a subtle conspiracy to make sure that the artists remain where they are. I don't know how to feel about it. That's how I feel. There is no reason the artist can be a billionaire. Why not? And I mean, a billionaire thinks like a billionaire. Sell the art, invest the money, think different. Look, we have no education around that. And so an artist will make 200 million and it disappears. Why? He's not an entrepreneur. That's the only reason. Well, it doesn't make money. And so when you're trying to make him not to become commercial, you kill him at once. And that's painful. Because you see, if I was taught differently, if I had information that, look, you can be an entrepreneur, even though you're an artist, then you could have seen a 4-story building as my gallery today. Because I'll know what to do with the cash. We make money, we throw it around because you think only pure. And so you don't think about how that this is business, this is your life, this is a legacy, and also an industry. And so, in trying to make the artist pure, you kill him. He must be commercial or he's useless. That's the truth. Because if I sell for $5,000 to $10,000, if I don't know financial education, I squander the money. Not irrelevantly, but what I thought was what I was supposed to do, because I don't have that knowledge. Now that's painful, and I've seen many artists, including myself, make mistakes like that, and it's painful. I have to bring it up. We recently lost a great artist 2 days ago, and part of the challenge was finance. This is a great artist. He didn't know. We don't know financial education. Otherwise, there'll be a fund. It's only an entrepreneur who think about a fund, right? It's only an entrepreneur who think about a fund. A pure artist may not think about a fund, and so I don't think there should not be clear-cut line. All the time it is made visible like that, but unfortunately it's not true, and that's why we're not going far. The music industry, they've cut it out. The Nollywood, they've cut it out, and they are flying away. Flying away. Look, it's a passionate thing for me when I talk about it, and so you have to excuse my.
No, please.
Because recently, the federal government, for instance, brought out this law that they're going to give the creatives a loan, a 1-digit loan, so I can pay back just 1 digit. Do you know that in that text I didn't see the artist? It wasn't there. Why? They didn't think also that it had anything to do with entrepreneurship, and so we sold ourselves away. And this is the only thing that can keep culture. Tell our stories, explain who we are to people that will come 20 million years. And the pyramids, we are seeing it because somebody made it. And then we have been researching it forever. It's art. And art is life. And I don't see how you can separate the two. It's unfortunate that we're doing it, but it's not true. It's a lie. Which I think the time for it to end is now. Yeah. It should be merged. And so an artist must go for one program, AEP if you like. Or you find a course, even a business course. Why not? An MBA, why not? It will not distract you. It will not distract me. Because I cannot live unless I make art. So how can it distract me? I can't wake up. If I don't make art, something's wrong. It's therapy for me. So learning how to make better art and save my money and improve myself and still be a great artist doesn't change anything. If it works for the computer tech and it works for the lawyer and the doctor, it can work for the artist. Yeah.
No, I'm 100% with you on that, government.
Yeah.
We're not here to critique the government per se, but Germany, 7% of their budget goes to arts and culture, and it's not a loan, it's dash.
Exactly.
Because it adds, they see the intangible value of arts, culture, film, literature. Literature wasn't added to that list, which is a shame.
Which is a shame.
Yeah, so things could, I agree, 100% agree with you.
We need to make them know. They don't know. Now, how do I make you know if I'm not an entrepreneur? I tell you I'm only an artist, so you say, fine, go and make art. I have to be an entrepreneur to speak. So you know that I'm going to make money for the country too. And then so you consider me, you want to give me 500 billion naira. No, consider me. That's a shame.
So I would say that there's a TV industry, right? If you want to, the closest thing you can get, in fact, to be a salaried earner in entertainment, TV is the hotbed. So soaps, reality TV, I'm sure you've seen the videos of people queuing to be in BB, Nigeria, but behind the scenes, it's good, steady work. There's so many TV stations, a lot of brands have their own content platform. So that's been a huge and wonderful hotbed and access to making a regular income.
Is that why there are so much soaps in Nigeria?
Oh gosh, we love soaps, and we love Nigerian soaps, we love Indian soaps, we love Brazilian soaps. There's a huge market for it. In terms of the film industry is a little bit tricky. So Nollywood is a film industry, right? So it's, you make a film in a week, you churn it out, almost like gala. Like you have to, it's a machine. Now, the industry has changed a lot because people have invested a lot in improving the technology, right? Improving the equipment, shaky cameras, great lighting. So the industry has really changed. And in the past 5 years, you have sort of these industry changers, disruptors, that's the term, disruptors, Everyday Life, Film One. They've really disrupted the industry and really created, large scale, large value films, high value films. Yes, that's the term I'm looking for. I'm where I fit in the film industry. I do documentaries for now. I definitely do plan to diversify the types of stories that I tell. I'm going to be making a few more documentaries in the next sort of five years, I think. I'm pretty certain of that. And documentaries, even in the West, to be perfectly honest, has always been a bit of a niche. More, if you compare, more people want to see an adventure as compared to, a popular documentary. That's always been the way. However, there's a huge, if we're talking industry and trying to generate revenue, and there's a huge market in the documentary journalism field, which is something that I'm looking into, because documentary is that intersection between sort of arts, journalism, it's that intersection, telling a story, but obviously telling facts as well, as opposed to a fiction narrative. You're free to, tell a fictional story. With documentaries, not so much. So that's sort of so I've done film, I've done TV, I've touched on documentary, and then another money spinner in the industry is music videos. I mean, it's again, the music, like you said, the music industry is flying. Nollywood, the film industry is right behind it. Exactly. But music, so naturally music videos is that intersection between filmmaking and music, and there's so many artists, they all need, you must have a music video, and there's so many great music video directors. It's a difficult industry overall, even though there's TV, there's these sort of hotbeds, but the stakes are getting higher and higher. Netflix, they're buying content from us now. So it's a big industry. It's a huge industry. It's one of I would say it's second to music in terms of its size. Although it could catch up, it might overtake, who knows. But where I am is making documentaries, and I recently, last year, I finished making my first independent documentary. It was a short documentary called Awani, and it did a lot better than I thought it would. I'm very proud of it, but when it got into all these different festivals, the Afrika Film Festival in New York, in Belgium, it won a UNESCO prize. I was really surprised, because making a film is a little bit like making a wish. So you hope, you do your research, you rewrite the treatments, you do your interviews, and you just hope that it resonates with an audience. You can do some research, okay, what's popular, what are people interested in, but at the same time, as an artist, as a filmmaker, you have to have a position. What do you stand for? What is your aesthetic? And what do you want to say about the world? Do you want to make a contemporary documentary? Do you want to make a historical one? And that's what I made, a historical documentary. So for the past year, it's gotten into different film festivals, and I've been doing a little bit of traveling. I'd love to do more, but it's expensive. Sometimes they're able to fly you, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they just cover your hotel, and then obviously visa restrictions can be a bit cumbersome. So I've just been, it's been a fantastic year promoting this film, attending film festivals, meeting other African filmmakers. It really opens up your world, and opens up your thinking, seeing what people are doing. I met this a really interesting German Dominican filmmaker in New York, and she's based in Germany, so she does music videos to augment, and she used her money from making music videos to augment her, because she wants to do documentaries, and I have to also diversify quite quickly. Because sometimes money comes in, sometimes you win an award, you get some cash money, but my bills don't come sporadically, they come quite regularly. Sadly, they come quite regularly. So my challenge right now as a filmmaker and entrepreneur is to, okay, how can I generate more regular income? Because it takes time to put together a good documentary.
You're also looking
So I mean, one great thing, again, I mean, it's wonderful, but it's sad. But where I've been able to get a lot of traction is grants. Are any of them in Nigeria? No. Not a single one, but I actually got a grant for my first documentary, which was wonderful. It was welcome. Ford Foundation, thank you. May you forever continue keep giving It's a shame that there aren't things like that here. I am talking to a few content platforms that, okay, look, this is the kind of story I tell. Are you interested in that level of research, that level of depth on your platform? I don't want to say who. I had a meeting recently with a look, because I do want to, as much as my film has gained traction outside of Nigeria, come on, I'm Nigerian, and I want my film to connect to. I've been to schools. I've been to, I have been to a few local film festivals. The Afrika International Film Festival, they're wonderful. The IREP Documentary Film Festival, the Ake Festival, which is more of a literature festival, but I was still very grateful that they screened my film. But I want to work with local organizations, because I was a bit like, okay, wow, my film's going to Germany, it's going to South Africa, it's going to Kenya, but why can't there be more platforms for documentaries locally? So I've just decided that, okay, right, Ronke, I'm a very stubborn human being. Once I want to do something, I can stalk someone, I can stalk the head of something for something. So I'm also trying to foster local partnerships to see, okay, look, these are the kinds of stories that I think it has some traction, my trailer, like I put it up on Bella Niger, thank you very much, Bella Niger, and within hours, over 30,000 views. So there are people hungry for these sorts of stories. So like you, I also have to be very, very stubborn and say, look, there's a case for this. Try and look into making these sorts of stories, but at the same time not being too arrogant. I'm also earlier on this year, I did a training with the British Council. I also did the Fate Foundation training years and years ago. So also continually trying to find different ways to make it a sustainable career. I'm constantly reading, trying to think of stories and different ways to tell stories, watching films as well. So that's my story. It's a real challenge, and sometimes, oh my God, sometimes I get so upset, especially when money starts. That's when my soul starts.
That's
to break.
Exactly the question.
It really upsets me when the money is just not really coming in, because I know I'm smart. I know I can tell good stories. But that's something that I really struggle with. But it's just I'm so obsessed with what I do. I really believe in what I'm doing and the impact that it can have. So I can't give up. I haven't really given myself a backup, I briefly had a banking career that I said, good, when you say I slammed the door. It's not even something I can go back to. Because I have a friend who tried to delve into the fashion industry, but she was just like, look, okay, I like my salary. So she's a lawyer, so she went back into law. But I haven't given myself that. So that, just knowing that I don't really have a backup, that's what drives me, and just continue calling people, continue stalking people, try and make opportunities for yourself. I do a few odd jobs. I also write, and I make a little bit of income here and there from writing. So yeah, for me, the challenge now is how do I make more of a steady income, and that's the entrepreneurship part for me.
No, I think every creative has got this challenge. Now, when you want to, I'm trying to ask this question right, because I want to know, how do you think that you have become commercial just by trying to make this income?
No.
Exactly. It's normal, right?
Yes.
Because you have to make good films.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I think it could be easier if we know this as students, that listen, you have to make some bits and pieces if your creativity will have to come out. And so I want to know what you think about this curriculum. Can we change it? What do we do so that the young ones who are the creative ones coming out, because they will be faced with the same thing we're faced with. What do? How do they get prepared for it?
So I think social media is wonderful, but I also think it's awful. Simultaneously wonderful and awful.
I agree.
Wonderful because someone in Japan can see this, send you a DM and transfer the money to you, and you ship it, and that's the end of that.
Yeah.
And that's the wonderful thing about social media. It opens your world. But terrible thing about social media is that it makes everything look easy. That guy that copied you, it's because you make this thing look easy now. You don't show that, the materials you use, the hours it takes. I'm sure this doesn't start like this. It starts as a sketch. I'm sure you tear some. I'm sure there's so many elements, that go into this. So sadly, people like you make it look easy. And I think one thing I say to established creators is that please tell your story, whether it's through social media, whether it's through some newspaper wants to interview you. Say that you've been doing this for 20 years. It's taken you a while to get here. So all you artists, all you young filmmakers, it takes time.
It takes time.
That's one thing I've really realized, because I've been able to meet some amazing creatives, whether it's musicians or filmmakers or artists, and there are no overnight successes. Literally, there are none.
Mistake.
Even the rich men that we admire, this person has money, that person has money. They spend hours. It's been with a lot of sacrifice, and I think with social media, of course, we want to share our highlights, right? And that's the highlights reel, But we have to start telling our authentic stories. And I'm near the end of the promotional tour of Awani, and I'm going to share some of the film festivals that I didn't get into. It's not every film festival I applied to that I got into.
That's eye-opening.
And I'm going to share it because a few of my friends who are creative, they'll say that I didn't get into this fellowship, but I'll keep pushing. I didn't get this. I didn't get into this film festival, but we keep pushing because. When you get into something, it's so exciting, you win an award, you put it on social media, your art is going to be in this biennale. But what about all the ones that you didn't get into?
So many.
What about the client that said, okay, I'm going to buy this, you call them and then they stop.
Many times
No, that happened to me recently. One woman, she came to my screen and she was like, Ronke, my organization, we want to support you. This woman, she stopped taking my calls, and then I called her on my sister's phone and she picked up. So I knew she was screening my calls, and I'm sure there are just so many stories like that, And
we don't tell this.
We don't tell, and I'm not saying that should be 80% of the story, but maybe for every 10 posts, or even in an interview of your work, or if you're about to do an exhibition and you've got the press, that it hasn't been easy, and I think we need to tell. And you're right, from an institutional perspective, my gosh, I remember seeing some feature in the news in some secondary school near the north that they teach people with a typewriter, like how to use a type. I don't know when last I saw a typewriter.
Exactly.
Our curriculum of many things it's dated, and like you said about that creative loan. There aren't enough of us forming collectives, because government, they don't like to approach individuals. Well, in different ways they do for different sectors, but we don't form enough collectives to say, the Young Filmmaker Society, the Nigerian artists. I mean, I know there are guilds and things like that, and they're trying, but we don't form collectives or to say. There should have been a letter in the newspaper. How they, all these newspapers notice the Nigerian art industry is worth X, Y, and Z. How have you left us out? There are X amount of galleries.
Why did you leave us out?
I think for me, as a filmmaker, as an artist, I don't think it should be a loan. I don't. I think artists need money. They need money. They need grants. Yes. And it's at least let 50% of it be grants. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes. Let's even include us in the loan. At least one digit is beautiful.
Yeah.
But just completely wiped them off the globe.
It's forming collective, and I guess the Nigeria just makes you focus on my next film, my next grant, my next this, which the challenge is like, okay, wait, I'm part of an industry, so what can I do? Who can I call? And it's like you said, young artists coming together. Let's put our small money together. Let's rent a space. And that can build something. So I'm with you on that fostering partnerships, like you said, early on in your career, winning that prize, giving your work to galleries, but it's creating partnerships and collectives that together, this singular mindset of me, which I have quite a lot, it has to change.
It has to change a bit, yeah. But more of our peers than,
Of course,
because if you know my pain, I know your pain, we can deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. At different stages, you need different things, So I guess we have to wrap up now. This has been a great, thank you. So I've learned so much.
I'm sure I've had. I think we need to learn a few things from you too. Again, and I wanted to ask one question. Do you think it is because the movie industry is spending a lot of money with equipment and all that? That's why they're interested in entrepreneurship, unlike do you think, because it's something that bothers me a bit, is the core fine art not doing the same?
So, unfortunately, film is a bit more accessible than art, right? In Nigeria, let me be very specific. So, in Nigeria, it's far cheaper to go to film house than to go to a gallery. Let me explain what I mean by that, because obviously it's the same fuel that you go to you go to culture, you go to Silverbird. I guess historically, right, let me say that again. Historically, art has been for politicians, for the elite, right? So even though it has such value, it has value for the masses. So for example, you go to huge museums, you go to huge art galleries, you don't need to be rich to go to MoMA or the Metropolitan Museum or the Royal College of Art or whatever. You can just go, you don't have to own it, right? But in Nigeria, because there's this sort of ownership, you go to art fest to buy, or you go to art events to, they're events.
We're not invited.
Yeah, sometimes they're not invited. I mean, I think art is going through a nice democratization. I mean, the last time I went to Artex, I couldn't move. There's so many people. And then the next one, they had to now cut it down. Get and it's wonderful for the platform. So I think that's happening. But because with films, and also another thing about the film industry, and we're getting there, but we're not there yet. Most of the films that it's a lot of international films. So, this was a big year for the film industry between Avengers and Lion King and all these things. That drives people to the cinema. So there's a larger customer base, which means more money, So you're making a lot of money, as opposed to, yes, there's so many talented artists in Nigeria, but to move their work, which is where that's when the money is moving, that's when the government starts to
but maybe we can move the ideas instead of the work. For instance, they are doing the films and all that and creating value by making cinemas and then making films and videos, and so they're trying to create value, right, with one work. I always believe that we can create value too. I mean, why must I hang my work on the wall? Your dress has got some nice prints. An artist made those prints. We can emphasize on these things a bit more. That's what I keep believing. Now when you start doing it, people start looking like you have become commercialized. That's the pain. It can be functional. We can do tables and chairs and things like we're sitting on. But make it a bit more industrial. Turn it to a factory, why not? And let the artists run it. Because the mind is the work. Once we start to do that, we may begin to create another avenue like the cinemas, another avenue like the videos. So the work stays and has its high value. And now I can't go for a premiere, I pay 12 times the amount. I wait for 2 weeks and I start watching the normal thing. So for the exhibition, you come and pay the premium. Then you can get the souvenirs.
Yeah, it's true.
And so we can
be books and coffee table. But
we should start diversifying. I'm saying that the artists will have to think of that, because it's not commercial to think. It's living our life. It's the pain that we have to cross. And so I'm thinking that we should have places to emphasize on these a bit more in social media, create forums like this, talk about it more, and encourage it a bit, so that people don't think that they're doing the wrong thing. And that's why we're not doing it. I asked a friend one day, what were you doing before I started to do art? He told me he was making sandals, leather shoes, and I said, why did you stop? He said, the art has made him stop. I said, but that was art too. You just didn't know that you can put your colors on the shoes, and then someone is now creating shoes and drawing art on it and selling heavily from Holland. But he was doing it before he became a professional artist. So I'm a bit bothered about that, but I think if we can talk about it a bit more, people begin to think about it as art too, instead of commerce.
Yeah, and one thing I would like to say to people who are friends with artists, married to artists, related to artists, is that what I love about what you just said, and obviously you are an artist, is you're very encouraging. You're not saying that, oh, you know, by the time you make shoes, you'll be a billionaire. No. Keep making shoes. There's craftsmanship. There's value to that. Yeah. But also keep paint. There's nothing stops you.
It doesn't change you
from doing both.
You don't stop eating just because you're dancing. Right? It's the same thing.
Yeah. So I think encouragement is really important. Yeah. You know, so much has been said. It's so hard to create a summary, but I think passion is the foundation of any creative career.
Agree.
Education, right? Education institutions, they're not great, so you have to educate yourself.
Sure.
Ask questions. A lot of it, especially your career, trial and error. You tried this, it didn't work. You tried that, it didn't work. Yeah. So some things sadly you're not going to find it in books.
No.
You're going to just have to try things.
Yeah.
Foster partnerships. You don't have to do everything yourself.
No, you can't.
Although you must have an overview and understanding, and you must challenge yourself. You must know. You must start thinking like a business person, because it is a business.
It is.
And like you said, the first thing you said, just never give up.
Never ever. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching this episode of Journeys in Entrepreneurship. This interview was recorded on the 8th of August 2019 at Gerald Chukwuma's gallery in Yaba, Lagos. We look forward to hearing about your feedback and aha moments in the comment section below. Remember to join the live conversations right after this premiere. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get further notifications when a new episode drops, and definitely join us next week Friday for a new episode. Thank you.